having us. Coach Haynes will give an opening statement here in just a second. He is joined by a couple of captains, senior center Phil Huff and senior safety Luke Wollet.
Good. Thank you guys for coming. Again, coming off of a tough game against Bowling Green, didn't end up the way we wanted it. But there was a lot of good things on film that we can build upon, and there was a lot of things that we got to continue to improve upon. But the thing about adversity and handling adversity, and you got to sit there, and we got a long season to go. So we licked our wounds yesterday, and now we're going to move forward and get ready for LSU, which is a huge challenge, but a great challenge. Anytime you can play against an SEC opponent and a top program like LSU, it's a big deal for us. So our guys are looking forward to it. We'll start the preparation, which we did a little bit yesterday. We'll continue on this week, and it'll be a big challenge, but it'll be a fun game for us.
Coach, for you and for Phil, bring us up to date on the offensive line, where you are now. You probably had two offensive line after 2 games, injury-wise. You guys move around, just kind of where are you? And then Phil, maybe just dealing with some of those adjustments.
We went into this game, of course, with we had a couple guys a little bit banged up, Pat McShane and actually Bisco with his ankle. So really what we wanted to do going into this game is we wanted to try to get maybe about anywhere from 15 to 20 plays out of Pat. Is kind of what we told him going into the game, and we were going to get maybe about 15 to 20 plays from Wayne Scott. And it kind of worked out that way. Phil had 22, and I believe Wayne had around 17, plays. And then we kind of rotated a little bit with Reno around. He's kind of like the swing man for us on the offensive line. But, there's a lot of good things that happen, especially when you look at the first half. I think, again, in the second half, I don't think Bowling Green changed a whole bunch. It still came down to us doing the little things right and executing that we didn't do, in the first half. So those are the things that you look at that you got to talk about finishing the game and, continue to do the things that you did in the first half and, settle down and relax. But, you got guys like Phil and then Pat in the huddle. That was the one thing that they kept on doing on the sideline, no matter where the game was. And that was the awesome thing to see, that, hey, just relax. We'll get it. We'll get the next play. It just didn't go, how we planned the second half. But there's a lot of good things that happened on the offensive line, and I thought they played pretty good, for it.
You still looking at 15 to 20 with McShane again?
You know what? I think it's going to be a we kind of made that decision on Thursday a little bit to see how he'll be tomorrow, how he'll be on Wednesday, how he feels on Thursday. Our goal hasn't changed. You still want to win the MAC, and that's the thing that you got to sit there as a coach and a coaching staff is to sit there and say, do we take chances, or can you sit there and get him 100%, for the rest of the season? It's a long season, and when you deal with things like knees and ankles and stuff like that, man, those are nagging stuff that sometimes they don't get any better when you don't relax them or rest them, So we'll see how he feels. He's pretty sore yesterday. It was a little bit swelled up yesterday, so we just kind of got to wait and see how he feels. I know this, he's going to want to play. I mean, we had to pull him out of the game, on Saturday. So it'll be a decision that we'll kind of monitor during the week. I kind of took all the fields.
No, go ahead. I mean, you're the guy that's got to deal with all this. How you kind of handling it in the heat of battle?
I think we're handling it well. I think we have great depth, so we don't really miss too much of a beat. It was great to have Pat back in there, and I know that him and Bitsko will play through anything. They're both warriors, so I knew that they were going to push themselves to play as much as they could, and I just think our guards have developed a lot and will continue to, and we'll just get better and better as a unit.
You guys were able to obviously go into Rutgers last year and win. Huge challenge again this year with a similar type of deal where LSU's like 8, Rutgers was like 15. Can you just kind of remember your mentality going into that Rutgers game? You're kind of, a lot of people were kind of questioning whether you really think you can win. But what was your mentality going into that game, and kind of transform that into this game this year?
I mean, you go with the same mentality you go in every week. You expect to win. It comes down to executing and doing the little things right. And, last year against Rutgers, we did the little things right. Last year against Kentucky, we didn't do anything right. And, we'll have a good game plan and, we'll go out there and play our hardest.
I remember we had a speaker come in and talk to us, and he said, "Why not us?" When we play bigger teams, when we're the big underdog, I think, why not us? Why can't we win this game? It's crazier stuff has happened. Why can't we beat them?
Goes back a little bit to offensive play. You look at the stats, your numbers really aren't bad. Your percentages really aren't bad. 4 yards a carry,
Right.
some yards a game. How do you translate that into the only thing I saw was maybe second half production? How do you translate that into getting, to the end game to happen?
Well, yeah, I think you just got to continue to stress, finishing and finish the game. And, we sit there, you always analyze everything a little bit more after a loss than you do sometimes a win. And I'm talking about as a coach. So we sit there and we look at what we're doing at halftime, also to make sure that we're doing the right things at halftime to get them ready to come out and perform like they did in the first half. So I think it's just a, something that you got to continue to stress about finishing the game. And, we can handle anything that anyone gives us. We prepare for it. We prepare well for it. Just like Luke said, it still comes down to we got to execute. We got to do the little things right. It's not the big things. It's just the little things you got to continue to do, down after down. And, sometimes when you have, and I hate to keep using this as an excuse because that's really, a little bit, when you have a younger team and guys with not a lot of experience playing in games, sometimes you start losing track of the little things. My route's supposed to be at 6 and I may cut it off at 4. Quarterback's throwing it at 6, and those are the little things that you look at that were happening a little bit in the second half. They ran a blitz that we worked on, all week, and it didn't work in the first half, but we miscued it in the second half. So all those little things are just cleaning up and making sure that we continue our focus and discipline on the little things, and big things will happen for us.
Did Colin have any issues with his knee?
You know what, he didn't. He's a little bit sore yesterday. We go out and we do a little bit of practice on Sunday night, and he stayed off of it, but it was more of just keep him off of it instead of trying to get him to do anything. But not blow up, not anything major, just sore. But for him to go back in there, and like I said, I had my MAC conference earlier today. I think game after game, and he's getting more respect not only by his teammates but by anybody that watches him play.
Trey had a tough time getting on track. Is that just he got behind obviously in the second half a little bit?
Yeah, I think a little bit again, and Treyon's a little bit kind of right now that guy. I wouldn't say under the radar for all the hypeness, but I think he's not by the opponents. I think the opponents know exactly where he is, and I think he's still getting keyed on, especially when you don't have, a guy like Dree out there, at the time. Now the focus again is on Treyon, and I think that's why guys like Humphrey, guy like Tyshawn are picking up the pieces a little bit for us and having better games for us, because guys are keying on Treyon a little bit more and loading the box, making sure that they know that they got to get 3 or 4 hats on him to get him down.
Put that big lineup in on the goal line. That was, I thought you had 5 guys.
Yeah, we had a lot. We brought in a couple of D linemen, for that. But You know, that was kind of, I think Zach Hitchens goes in for us, you know, at the fullback spot.
80 and the 90, or I mean the 80 and 50, what's it, 54?
51 or 41 was
41,
Hitchens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
You mentioned Drees, and you mentioned earlier about how knees and ankles, you know, anything light you can shed on that?
You know, it is his ankle, you know, and, you know, I just got done talking with Dree. Dree's trying to do everything he possibly can to come back, but, you know, it's a nagging thing that, you know, when you're a runner and you feel a little bit limited in running, you know, it's kind of, you know, a mental thing, also a physical thing with him. But he's going to try to go. I mean, he's going to try to go and do everything that he possibly can to get back on the field. He knows it's important for this team, for him to be out there, and it's important for him to be out there. So, you know, I hate to keep saying day to day, but it is going to be a day-to-day thing for him. You know, we'll start off a little bit slow with a little bit of individual. We'll go with a little bit more team stuff as the week goes on, and then see how it is. But again, he's kind of in that boat too. When you look at Pat McShane, you look at your final goals, and with knees and ankles, if you keep beating them up and banging them up, they never get right. And now you're killing them for the rest of the season. You know, when we come off of this road trip, that we got to be ready to roll to go win the MAC, and you want them healthy. So it's kind of a fine line as we sit there and continue these next 2 weeks on how we assess those guys and what we do with those guys. But you know, we'll communicate, you know, with what we're thinking on how we're thinking on using them or not using them.
Sometimes we say that, you know, Dree at 80% may be better than most guys at 100%. Would you have liked to have seen him try to go either in that second half of that first game or even Saturday, just to see kind of where he was?
You know what? We sat there and before that game, kind of like I told you guys, we're going to look before the game, see where he is, and see if he can be effective. Because, yeah, you know, I agree. I don't know if he's 80%. You know, though. So for him to be out there and not have Calhoun and not have Boyle out there would have hurt us even more. Plus also, too, it still goes back to, you know, you go out there at 70%, you injured it some more, now we're without him for 6 to 8 weeks. You know, so those are all the things that you kind of go into it, you know, as you look at that. Yeah, of course, he wants to be out there. We all want him out there, but you got to sit there and do what's best for him and do what's best for the team.
Does this open the door for any freshmen to maybe get some time? And if so, who might be?
You know, I don't think at that spot. You know, the guys that we kind of plug in that spot are Boyle and Calhoun, a little bit at that, you know, that inside receiver spot. Running back, you may look at it. I know a guy that's getting a bunch of reps, you know, during the week is Roman Clay. I wouldn't say a bunch, but, you know, with Trayon, really at the running back spot, you got Trayon Murray, you got Tristan Boykin, and then Roman Clay. So maybe at the running back spot a little bit more, an opportunity for Murray to get a little bit more touches, Tristan Boykin to get in the game also too, but not really at that receiver spot for us.
Chris White?
Chris White's more of an outside guy. You know, he kind of backs up Tyshawn, you know, and Humphreys a little bit more. So he's not really where we would put Dree at, you know, a little bit.
I guess what I'm asking as a playmaker, is
Yeah.
there somebody you want to get, hey, let's try and get this guy 5 snaps?
No, not right now. No.
I'll ask another one. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I've seen it. There was one play in the second half where Roosevelt just got in there so fast, he just literally went by.
Yeah.
Was he offside?
You know what? No, they ain't call it. So he wasn't. He wasn't. You know, but you know, you've seen through the years, man, him doing that.
Right,
you know,
right,
he
right.
has a.
I was just curious. I said, did they just hold? Or I didn't know if maybe the guard maybe just left the hole wide open, or if he. I mean, because it was so quick.
Yeah, and we were kind of going at the case that they're gonna call it. You know, because it was so right on time. But that's the one thing that Rosie does during the course of the game, that you can sit there and you can ask him, and he listens to the snap count. You know, he studies the center a little bit on, and they have a center that moved his head a bunch, and then he snapped the ball. So those are all the things that Rosie does well during the course of the game that he tries to get, picking up on the snap count, picking up on the center's movement on when he's going to snap the ball, that he's done well over the course of his years here.
Not just him, but several guys. It seemed like you were in the backfield for a play.
Yeah,
Just
couldn't get him down. And again, that comes back to a fundamental, a fundamental of tackling that you got to wrap up and do the little things right, because you got to finish the play, and the finishing the play is getting him down. So, plus also too, I never sit there and argue on a guy missing one tackle. That's on the whole defense. That, if he makes him stop and start again, we got to sit. No, I'm just saying in general. You make him stop and start again, we got to get 10 other guys running to the ball. So that's a group effort. If we get penetration, make him stop and start, we need other guys there.
Obviously, you guys had a tough game Saturday. You got LSU next week. What do you do this week to kind of get yourself ready to bounce back?
Well, anytime you give up 40 points and 600 yards, you really reevaluate yourself first, see what I did during the week preparation wise, and then you go back to, as a defense and what we did well, what we didn't do well, and a lot of it comes back down to just how we did things during the week, executing the calls that Coach George gave us, and a lot of the things are fixable, and a lot of them were mental busts. And, you just go back, we watched the film yesterday, you try to do the things that you did well, try to do them again, and then, try to fix the things you didn't do well. And, it was a lot of simple stuff that we messed up on, and, we can't have it back, we can just learn from it, and that's what we'll try to do this week.
Kind of look at yourself a little more than your opponent?
Yeah, definitely, especially early on after, you don't want to harp on it too much, but definitely got to learn from it. Especially yesterday, it was a big day for learning what we did wrong in the game, and you got to fix yourself before you can really move on to your opponent. So we'll do some different things this week, and we'll bounce back. We got a tough group of guys that are, especially being a young defense. You're only going to get better each week, each practice. So just being on the field is very important for our defense right now.
Is there anything you can take from last year to apply to this tough stretch coming up in terms of what you guys were even the year before, and how you guys want to have that tough mentality?
Yeah, maybe so much 2 years ago. Last year we had a lot of success. We didn't really handle, we handled some adversity, but, especially an early loss, besides Kentucky, but, we didn't lose in the MAC last year. So, it comes back to a lot of our seniors. We really got to step up and, if we look, frazzled and, if we look like we're, out of sync, then, the younger guys are going to be confused too. So, it comes back to us, keeping our composure. And, the younger guys do a great job of really, leaning on the older guys. And, so it's our responsibility this week to, really pick the team back up. And, we'll keep fighting. We're going to fight every week. We're going to fight every day. And no matter who we're playing, we're going to go out there and fight. And that's what I love about our defense.
Phil, how do you think the line progressed from game one to game two?
I think we got a lot better. I think we'll continue to get better. But it was when you pop your first cherry of your first game, the next game is a lot easier. Things go a little bit slower. First game, things are flying at you fast, and I think you could see that we picked up some things that I don't know if we would the first game. And I think after the first game, people realized how much they do need to study the game, and I think we had guys in there studying it a little bit more.
Anything else? Let's talk about LSU real quick. What do you see there?
They're a very good football team, and they're a very pretty football team. They'll look good coming out of the tunnel. I've went against these guys a couple times, and You know, when you're a program like them, the one thing that you'll notice about them is they're not real flashy, I guess. I mean, they're not going to line up in a bunch of different formations and try to trick you. They're just going to line up and they're going to pound you and try to pound you and wear you down. So as far as game planning against teams like this, there ain't a whole lot of, you know, formations and things you got to sit there and prepare for. It's more mental to me than anything, you know, and getting prepared for the environment, getting prepared, you know, to just sit there and fight for 60 minutes, because that's exactly what it's going to be. And it's not going to go our way all the time. And we got to sit there and we got to bounce back and we got to dust it off and keep stepping up. And that's going to be the key, is just keep coming back and fighting down after down, you know, after down. And lay it all out there, you know, just lay it all out there and see what happens.
Can you just be a little more specific about offense and defense and what you see out of them and what you expect them to do?
You know, defensively, they're very sound. You know, they mix it up. Coach Chavis does a good job. I mean, they have a very good front. They've always had a very good, you know, front, and they rely a lot on their front to take up, you know, a couple of blockers, which a lot of times you have to do to, you know, to block those guys. And they let their athletic linebackers and stuff run and make a bunch of plays. They will line up in man-free. They are a man-free, you know, quarters and man-free football team that will sit there and lock you down, you know, at times and blitz. So they do a pretty good job of mixing up a lot on defense to try to put you in bad situations and get you behind the sticks. You know, when those guys up front can pin their ears back on 3rd and long, you know, it's difficult. It's tough, you know, so, and they'll just lock up and play 2-man and play man-free and bring some guys. So it's going to be a big challenge, you know, for our offense to make sure that we execute and do some things well. But it'll be a solid, you know, simple game plan and going down there and executing. You know, offensively, their quarterback is playing well for them right now, and I think he is the key. I think going into the season, and even after last season, him playing, you know, I don't know how comfortable I would say that they were with him to sit there and be a top 10, you know, a top 10 program. But he's playing awesome, you know, for them, and he's controlling the offense. Their running backs are big and they run physical. You know, so our guys are going to have to do a good job of tackling and wrapping up. Their offensive line is young and a little bit new, but they're big. I mean, they're big guys and they move well. Their receivers are very, very talented. One of them is super, super fast. He's number 3. I don't know his name right off the bat, but he's their kick returner and punt returner, and you know, so it's going to be a challenge for us on the back end too. They're going to take their chances. You know, they're going to take shots. You know, when you look at them and they are, you know, with Cam Cameron coming in and they are pro-style, you know, type offense where they're going to sit there, they're going to pound it, then they're going to take their shots. You know, so like I said before, though, and LSU has always been this way. You know, game planning against them is not where you have to spend a bunch of time on what formations they're going to come out in. You're going to know exactly what they're going to come out in. You're going to know exactly what they're going to do. Stop them. I mean, that's their mentality, you know. So it'll be a great, you know, like I said, a great atmosphere and great challenge for our guys, but we look forward to that challenge.